Track was the same, which was never in the history of me racing Supercross had we had a repeat track. Never mind a repeat track back-to-back years. Now, there were some things that were changed, but barely.
No, it was the
barely.
Same. It was the same.
I will say though, it's a good track.
It's very good. Produces good races. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun as heck. So it's like, yeah, I actually didn't mind that at all. I thought it was cool and monstrous whoops. So that benefited me, even though, spoiler alert, I had a forks that weren't working in qualifying. I was still fast because I was one of probably the only guy in B group skimming the whoops, or one of maybe two guys. And then I'm sure I was better than most of the guys in A group in the whoops as well. So that was cool. Free practice. What happened in free practice? I think I felt great and everything went well.
Everything was good in free practice.
And the bike was still fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then went out for qualifier number 1, and literally they wave the green flag. I take off, and as I'm turning left in the first turn, going slow, go in second gear, just rolling, I'm like, something's not right. Hit the first jump, like just doubled, and I'm like, oh, something's really not right. So I immediately pull into the mechanics area, and Jack Chambers' mechanic sees me pulling in and checks my front tire, which is funny because that's what I thought it was. I thought for sure it was a flat front, and he somehow knew I was thinking the same thing. Checks the front, it's not flat, and I'm like, oh boy, that means there's something's going on with my forks. I don't know what. So I can't remember if right then and there Dan took the screwdriver and started trying to adjust compression on the forks to see if we could fix it, even though I knew that wasn't the problem. I think he went 4 stiffer with the forks. And then I start riding, and I'm just like, oh my God, everything is bound up. It's like my suspension doesn't feel stiff, doesn't feel soft. It's like it's literally just not working in the front. And it was making it so difficult to turn. Every time I would jump, the front end would like go out on me. Hitting the whoops was terrifying. I had to lean back way further than normal just to make sure it was all shock and no forks going through the whoops. Still somehow qualified. Oh wait, no, that was first time qualifier. Is that the one I pulled off?
That was free. Are we talking? Yes, that was first qualifier. Yes. So we got a red flag in first qualifier. Well, actually in both qualifiers, and you popped the bike on a stand. And Dan went
popped the bike on the stand, and then he's trying to just look at it, see if anything's wrong. The front wheel is spinning fine. It's not like sometimes when you spin the front wheel and it's got like that wonky kind of, maybe your front brake rotor is bent, and that can cause a weird feeling to the front end, especially in Supercross when you just can feel everything. You have a clump of sand in the chain in the wrong spot, you can feel it. It's not like outdoors where you're just kind of blasting through whatever and you don't notice as much. So we put the bike on the stand, and there's nothing to find. And I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, okay, well, I'll go try to do a lap. And then after that lap, I'll just pull off and call it. So I think that's what I did. My lap was horrible. I might have even crashed trying to do another lap after that.
No, I don't think you did a lap. You went back out. Crashed in the, because I just watched the footage. You crashed in the sand the first lap, and then went from the sand to the mechanic area.
But I still got a 22. I still qualified 22nd out of that one somehow.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how, because I don't remember doing a lap in that one.
Yeah.
I honestly think one lap I just skimmed the whoops and kind of cruised the rest of the track, and that got me 22nd, which is crazy. Pull off early, and I'm pretty furious at this point. But more so furious because we had just switched the suspension. Those forks just came off my practice bike, and I'm like, oh, what could possibly be wrong with these things? They are fine in free practice, and immediately I'm like, oh wow, the day's gonna be toast because we're not gonna have a way to fix these. So there's not enough time in between first time qualifier and second, so then I go back out for second time qualifier. At this point, what did we try? He loosened up everything on the front end.
We retorqued everything, but also we pulled the whole shot device off and put a new one on.
And put a different front wheel on with a different front brake rotor and different front brake pads. So basically assessed every other issue with the front end, which I think was the right first step. then at that point, it's like, okay, if this doesn't fix it, then we know something internal is going on because we've done everything else. So I go out there in second time qualifier, immediately know something's wrong, get another red cross flag or another red flag, and it restarts. So we go back to the start straight after 3 minutes or whatever it was. And I'm like, well, just furious again, because I'm like, all right, still an issue. And the frustrating part is that I'm feeling good. Like, I'm just ready to go. And I felt like I could have ridden that track really fast. And to just have a bike that wasn't working, I'm like, oh, come on, what the heck? So I get a lap that's okay based on what the bike was. I think qualified 17th.
Yes. 16th,
right?
17th, something like that.
Yeah. Again, not fast by any means. So I guess that's good news. Felt good about it for my sake. But then the scramble begins of like, how are we going to fix this thing? I go over to Honda. I ask Chris Hymas, Chance's dad, what his recommendation would be, like kind of alluding to, hey, is there anybody at Honda maybe that can pull these things apart? Or he goes, well, there's definitely nobody over here that has time on a day like today. He goes, but it's the amateur day tomorrow and the next day, Daytona. He goes, I know Factory Connection is here. So see if you can get in touch with Factory Connection or go find them in the pits, in the amateur pits. They've got to be here. So I hop on driver Jamie's RL 450, just start driving around Daytona in the infield. Stumble upon Factory Connection. Didn't recognize either the guys that were in there, but thank you guys if you're listening to this. They immediately recognized who I was, and I was just like, all right, bit of a panic situation. We have until this time. I need these. I need to like have you guys go inside my forks and figure out what's wrong. They're like, all right, bring them over as fast as you can. Get back to the pits, which took me 35 minutes to get back to the pits because I got lost. And then Tyler Stepik's there waiting for us. And immediately I go, Tyler, like I just put Tyler into action right away. I'm like, Tyler, can you go run my forks over to Factory Connection? He's like, yeah, of course. So mechanic Dan gets him off, run him over. They got him done quick. They got him done really quick. And it turns out, do you remember the specific, like the intel that we got back from them?
All I heard was that the oil was dirty.
I heard that there was some part at the top that they replaced, but I don't remember hearing what exactly was wrong, if anything. Because the problem is I haven't spoken to anybody. I got that relayed information from Tyler,
right?
Which isn't a good source.
No offense.
No offense, Tyler. And yeah, something about a part being changed that was on the top part of the forks once you got inside, and the oil was like toast. The oil was horrible. So what's odd is that those forks are not that old. They probably have less than 8 hours. Easily got to have less than 8 hours on them. Maybe less than 5. My only theory is that with me running the suspension as soft as I am, really probably theoretically just too soft for Supercross, maybe those forks are just taking an absolute beating and I just am blowing them out quickly. I don't know.
Maybe. All
I know is now I get this new setup on my bike and it's heat race time. So that's scary. I will say I did a good job of not stressing about that. I was like, all right, when I get around the first turn, I'm going to know right away if these things are fixed or not, and then we'll go from there. Get a decent start in the heat. I did a test run in my last qualifying start to not use the whole shot button, the ECU button for the get ignition, and just go back to old school, like just doing it myself. And I got the whole shot in the last time qualifier. I'm like, oh, okay, that worked. And it felt like a perfect start, and it felt like something I could replicate every time. So I'm like, all right, that gave me confidence in my starts. Immediately turn left, click neutral, almost get killed. Did you see me do that?
That was in the qualifier, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm backing up my story
now.
That did happen. Yep, almost got killed. To the point where when we got restarted and lined back up again, I like looked around everybody on the line. I'm like, thanks for not killing me, guys. Sorry about that. And heat race got a good start for what it was. Like, for considering I didn't have the best gate pick, really good start coming out of the gate. So at this point, I'm like very confident about my starts, which is nice. And I rode well in the heat. I got 12th. I didn't ride spectacular necessarily, but I think I rode pretty well. The guys in front of me rode solid. My lap times were good. You showed me that my fastest time came on the last lap, which at Daytona is not easy to do because even a heat race, that's tiring. A heat race at Daytona is that's a lot of work. It just feels like you're out there for a long time. So I was happy with that, and the bike was back to normal, thank goodness. And so that gives me a good gate pick in the LCQ. I'm lined up right to the left of Talon Hawkins, I think his name is, on the Husky. And perfect start in the LCQ. I let off early so that I could keep to the inside and stay to the left side in the rhythm. In hindsight, definitely could have stayed on the gas longer and just controlled and had the start instead of being in third. But it was good enough, or so I thought. Then stuck to the left side in the rhythm so that I could be in the inside in turn 2. And I positioned myself as far in towards that tough block, that red tough block on the entry as I possibly could, to make sure that nobody could get inside of me. And then I just got completely annihilated. But what I will say is that watching the footage back that Ryan got, Dr. Irresistible got a good video from up in the stands on the other side, I think with his phone. I cut down. Did you watch that video back? Could you tell that I cut down?
I mean, sure.
A little bit. I didn't cut down a ton, but I cut down enough to where I put that on myself, at least 50%. Which is frustrating because I know better, but then again, in the moment, like I wouldn't have made that decision ignorantly. Like there was thought into what I did, and I think the thought that I had, two things. One, I thought that going all the way left, and maybe Cam, for the sake of this clip, maybe you could just overlay this video or something. I put my foot peg all the way to the left of the tough block. So the first thought was, okay, I am completely protecting my inside. There's no way somebody's getting to the inside of me. And then thought two was there was 3 guys deep in that corner from the midway point up in the berm. So I think I just was like nervous about that. And I just cut down a little bit to stay away from that whole mess, thinking they would all kind of fall on top of each other. So I was just not in, it was a bad spot to be, ultimately. Got slammed by Broswell. I think that's how you say his last name, Caden Broswell. Just slammed. Kept it up on 2 wheels nicely. Got passed by maybe 4 people when that happened. And then coming into turn 2, and you can see it in this video as well, I see an opening on the right side of everybody going into the sand in that rough, bumpy section, and I pin it. Like you can see me literally just get on the gas when everybody else is getting on the brakes, which I'm proud of getting aggressive like that. But simultaneously, when I made the decision to get on the gas and pin it, number 170, Simonson, decided that he was getting impatient with didn't want to wait in the inside line anymore, and then swerves to go to the outside, and I lock bars with him. And then when we lock bars, I just lawn dart myself straight off the track. So now I've gone from third in turn 2 to now second to last, and I'm just fired up. I passed 3 guys immediately as soon as I get back into the sand. Somebody told me I caught back up to 9th. So I got all the way back up to 9th, which I didn't realize that. That's a lot of guys. I passed, that's 10 guys that I passed. So that's good. And then got hit one more time. And when I got hit again, I was like, F this, I'm pulling off. And I pulled off and I was done. I just had enough. I knew it was the end of the race. I knew I was far back. And I was like, how many dangerous things can happen in one race? And I was over it, and I just pulled off. So maybe you didn't have to pull off. Definitely not a good learning lesson necessarily for other people, but at the same time, I'm out there with a different purpose than everybody else. And it's like when I recognize that it's getting to a point of why am I out here? It was like there was so much motivation, and then when I got hit that one final time, I was like, screw this. And I lost all desire to be out on that track. I don't know. It was that, so, but with that aside, I'm riding really well right now, which is good. I feel extremely comfortable on the bike, and I had some aggression. Like some pretty good, most aggression I've had all season. I wouldn't even consider like what I did at Houston in that LCQ super aggression. That was more so like I was just better than the guys around me and I was going by them. At Daytona, I started to have more aggression. Like not forcing passes, but definitely like making passes happen. Riding the track a bit harder. Yeah, I don't know. I was pleased. I know I didn't seem it maybe, but I was pleased with that day. Because the end result doesn't really matter at the races necessarily. It's more of like how I feel about how the process of the day went. And I think it went well. Any other race, if I have that suspension problem, I'm done for the day because we're not getting it fixed. The chance that factory connection was even there to get me through the rest of the day we were lucky for that. If you guys enjoyed this podcast clip and you want to listen to full episodes, go download them. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I think that's it. Go download them there. Give them a listen. If you want to watch full episodes, which I tell you what, it's even better to do that. Go to club.themotoacademy.com because Moto Academy subscribers inside of the app have exclusive access to watch the entire episodes. And not only that, the subscribers actually can send in their questions to be answered on the podcast as well. Club.themotoacademy.com. Go subscribe.